All right, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are going to unpack a truly remarkable story from the ground up. Today, we're looking at the life of Leo. He's a 20-year-old living in this quiet, mountain-surrounded town. Now, Leo had massive dreams, He wanted to own a whole chain of restaurants and be this hugely successful entrepreneur. But, well, reality was painting a very different picture. His family was really struggling financially. His dad, Mark, worked as a mechanic, and his mom, Claire, was cleaning houses just to make ends meet. He also had a 10-year-old sister, Sophie, who looked up to him like he was her absolute superhero. Sitting outside his small house one cold evening, just staring up at the stars, Leo realized he desperately wanted to provide a better life for his family. But honestly, he had absolutely no idea where to start.
And that brings us to the core question of today's Explainer. What does it actually take to turn a distant dream into a reality when you are starting with absolutely nothing? I want you to really think about how you'd answer that for yourself. It's a pretty daunting premise, right? But as we're going to see by breaking down Leo's journey, true success is never just handed to you. It is entirely earned. Section 1. The Price of a Dream.
Let's look at the foundational moment that set Leo's entire life on a completely new trajectory. His relentless leveling up started with just a really simple observation. People in his town loved fresh bread, but they had to travel incredibly far to get it. He saw a gap in the market, but he didn't jump straight to opening a fancy shop. No way. Step 1 was literally walking miles just to buy the bread and then selling it from a tiny stand near the park. We're talking 4 a.m. wake-ups every single day. Only after 2 months of intense saving did he reach step 3, buying a small cart. And from there, it escalated to renting a home oven and finally opening his very own physical shop. This right here is an absolute masterclass in incremental progress.
But none of that timeline would have happened without this anchoring quote from his dad, Mark. Leo, dreams are not free. If you want something, you have to fight for it. Start with what you have, even if it's small. Wow. Those words became the ultimate catalyst for Leo. They basically served as the thesis statement for his entire journey. It was this exact conversation that made Leo realize he couldn't just sit around staring at the stars forever. He had to get up and actually fight.
Moving on to Section 2, taking the first risk.
Let's explore exactly how Leo took that first terrifying step into the business world. The crucial starting point for Leo was exactly $0, a big goose egg. That is literally all the upfront capital he had when he decided to start this bread selling business. He had zero money to actually buy the bread to sell. So what did he do? He walked miles to meet Mr. Anderson. Now, Mr. Anderson was the grumpy old owner of the distant bakery, a guy known for rarely trusting anyone. But Leo looked him right in the eye and asked for an unprecedented favor, to front him the bread for 1 single week on credit. When Mr. Anderson asked why he should trust him, Leo just firmly replied that he was determined and would work hard to prove himself. And you know what? That sheer confidence paid off. Mr. Anderson gave him the bread and Leo paid him back after his very first day of selling.
Eventually, one of his customers pointed out that Leo could make way more profit if he actually baked his own bread. Leo was terrified. He had never baked a day in his life. But, remembering his father's words, he went and asked Mr. Anderson to teach him. Now, the steps to bake seem incredibly simple on paper. Mix the flour, knead the dough, bake perfectly. Sounds easy enough, right? Well, actually, the reality was totally grueling. Leo had to show up at the bakery at 3 a.m. every morning. His hands literally ached and throbbed from kneading that heavy dough. He ruined batch after batch, pulling out bread that was either rock hard or way too soft. He felt utterly defeated and, honestly, almost quit. But he kept showing up. And after 2 weeks of relentless, painful practice, Mr. Anderson handed him a loaf and told him it was perfect. He had finally mastered the craft. All right, Section 3, Surviving the Competition.
So Leo takes his new skills, rents a small home oven, and business is booming until a major threat arrives in town. A shiny new competitor set up shop right nearby. Eric's Bakery had a big, fancy shop, colorful signs, and beautifully designed cakes. Immediately, Leo's sales just plummeted. So how do you react to a setback like that? Leo easily could have thrown in the towel right then and there. Instead, he adapted. He listened to his customers. He asked them what they liked about Eric's shop. He absorbed their feedback, took his hard-earned savings, and painted his cart. He started offering free samples. He even went to the local library and watched videos on how to decorate cakes. He didn't complain about the competition, he just completely leveled up his own game.
And his response earned him this incredible piece of feedback from an elderly local customer. They said, "I've seen many young men give up when times get hard, but you didn't. That's why we trust you." Man, Leo's resilience paid off in massive dividends. He didn't just win back his customers, he earned their deep, unshakable trust. That community loyalty is exactly what allowed him to save enough to finally achieve step 5 of our timeline from earlier, opening his own warm, welcoming physical shop, which he proudly named Leo's Fresh Bakes, and employing his mom and sister. The whole shebang.
Section 4. Rising from the Ashes.
Okay, so just as Leo's family was finding real stability and his bakery was becoming the absolute heart of the town, life decided to test him one more time. I want you to imagine this scenario. What do you do when everything you've built goes up in flames? Literally. One stormy night, right as Leo was closing up, a fire sparked near the oven. He managed to stop the flames with water, but the damage was done. Most of his hard-earned equipment was completely destroyed. The next morning, the townspeople were whispering, wondering if this was the end for Leo. His savings definitely weren't enough to replace what was lost. He was completely heartbroken. But once again, he went to his old mentor, Mr. Anderson, for advice. Mr. Anderson just smiled at him and said, "Leo, you already know the answer. You've taught yourself that nothing is free."
This is where the whole story beautifully comes full circle. When you work hard and never give up, people notice. They want to help someone who helps themselves. Leo didn't sit around waiting to be rescued. He went right back to baking at home with whatever little equipment he had left, promising his customers he wasn't going to let them down. And seeing that indomitable courage, the town stepped up. They donated ingredients, they chipped in small amounts of money, and they volunteered their own time to clean and repair his shop. Leo's sheer effort attracted the exact support he needed to rebuild an even bigger, better bakery.
And that brings us to Section 5, 4 Lessons for Success. At his grand reopening, the town's mayor called Leo a true inspiration. Let's distill exactly why. From everything we've looked at today, we can extract these 4 highly actionable life principles directly from Leo's hero's journey. Point 1. Dreams are not free. They require immense hard work and sacrifice, just like those 3 a.m. baking lessons. Point 2. Failure is not the end. Ruined batches of bread and losing sales to a shiny new competitor? Those were just chances to learn and pivot. Point 3. Help yourself first. When you put in the effort, like starting to bake from home immediately after a devastating fire, that is what attracts community support. And point 4. Never give up. The darkest moments, like standing in front of your burnt-out shop, are often the immediate precursors to massive success. Persistence is absolutely the ultimate antidote to failure. Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway of today's explainer. Read it with me. Nothing is free, but everything is possible. Leo didn't just build a bakery. He built a life of purpose, respect, and pride, starting from absolute zero. He proved that no matter what your dream is, if you're willing to pay the price in hard work, patience, and persistence, you can definitely make it a reality. So, here's my question for you. What dream are you going to start fighting for today? Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and I will see you in the next one.